All right, so we've seen a more official example of this. Now we're going to look at what you specifically are going to try to do in this worksheet. And so, we have this ability, we can type rand words in here, and we can get any number of random words. You can keep typing that until you find something that you like. But what is this process going to look like? So I'm going to look through these words, and I'm going to try to sort of pair them off, right? So if I say like, okay, principle in health is like a healthy principle. Well, that's like super boring. So we're not going to go with that one, obviously. But this is kind of what we're doing, right? So you can change health to healthy. That's okay. Maybe like a healthy vapor. Not really entirely sure what that means. Maybe it has something to do with like how much you're breathing, how much you're active. Who knows, right? Again, we are not finding the correct meaning for any of this stuff. We're inventing a meaning, which means that none of these things inherently means anything when we first start out, right? So let's see, cite evidence, that's a little bit obvious, just like evidence that you can see. But let's see, this word hollow is kind of cool. Maybe we've got also similar, so we could have a hollow similarity. What would that mean? A hollow similarity is if it like sort of seems pretty similar, but it's not. Well, okay, you've worked with same different kind of stuff before, right? So maybe a hollow similarity is just like superficial. And so we're gonna use that to talk about it. That could come out as a really big idea, or it could be just one single phrase that you use. But the phrase hollow similarity sounds pretty cool, right? It just sounds interesting. Also, I still like this word hollow. And oxygen, right? What would it mean to have like hollow oxygen? Well, I mean, inherently it doesn't really mean anything because we just don't use the word hollow with the word oxygen in English. It's not what we do. But if you think about hollow oxygen, maybe it means the air is thinner. Maybe it means it's more metaphorical. And we say, okay, well, the room was so tense that the oxygen felt hollow. Well, now that sounds awesome, right? I mean, it sounds so cool. And it's just like a very, very simple turn of phrase. And this is kind of how we arrived at it, right? I also like this word pale, but, not entirely sure how it would pair off in this particular case. You can keep some of these words and kind of continue to work through them. As I was going through this, I kind of liked, this thing over here, right? So, printed is also a pretty interesting word. So printed, maybe you can go with like something that's kind of repetitive. But if it's like printed pale or printed paleness, what could that mean? Maybe it means that, somebody seems like they just sort of came off of a copier machine, but it's a copier machine that's running out of ink. And then, okay, so that's a tangible understanding, but what could that mean metaphorically? And it depends on what you're going to apply it to, right? So maybe you're trying to make your entire focus be about some kind of a tree business that you're trying to start up. And so then it's a little bit easier because printing and you got the whole paper issue and maybe we have some environmental friendliness going on. Who knows? But you can see that these things can start to kind of match and work their way into all sorts of other things. Maybe you talk about like a printed instrument. What does that mean? Well, we can think, okay, music is usually printed and so that makes sense. But what would it mean to print an instrument itself? Okay, you can go with the literal definition of maybe 3D printing, right? We have 3D printing, that's cool. But it's sort of basic, so where can we take it if we take it an extra step further? What could printed mean? It means that it's mass created. It means that it's usually not created by a human, it's created sort of by a machine. Although we do have like handwriting print, right? So printing, with your hand, that's a different aspect. So maybe there's some aspect of handwriting that comes into the instrument. That could be interesting. So really just, this video is designed to give you just kind of the broadest idea of what you're doing here. Really trying to pair words off and just make magic happen, right? Or make any amount of kind of tiny sparkles happen. It doesn't really matter how big or how small it is. You can use it in lots of different ways, and we're going to use it together later. But just find words that you think sound cool and feel free to change them up, right? So you can have energetic fairness, right? right? And that even though it says energy and fair, you can still change the words. Energetic fairness, what does that mean? And you can have a nesting cabin or something, you know, or whatever it is. So these words can be changed into verbs, they can be changed into adjectives, you can switch them all around. And that's kind of this goal over here. In the worksheet, you will see the example of twisted incandescence, right? So some of these words will get even more exciting, and you are always welcome to add in your own interesting words. So if you really like the concept of freedom, or you really like the word transition, or you're really excited about the word fundamental right now, whatever word it happens to be, you can throw it in there, and now you can talk about fundamental nesting, or, you know, fundamental energeticness, or whatever it is that you want to come up with over there. Right? So totally free reign over here. If we're thinking about twisted incandescence, right? So twisted incandescence. Good. So if we're thinking about twisted incandescence, what does that mean? We've got this idea of light, but the light is being twisted. Is it twisted into darkness, right? That could be possibly maybe a little obvious, right? Is it twisted around something, right? Is there some kind of obstruction that's maybe creating shadows? What is the difference between shadow and darkness, right? Shadow is sort of an obstruction of light, but darkness is a lack of light. So maybe that can come into something that we're talking about over here. So just giving you kind of all these ideas, right? Explore this idea, explore this concept, type rand words in as many times as you want, right? You can use this as many times. You're not stuck with anything that you pick. And just explore here, and then we will be here to guide you as your instructors.